Welcome to another Soccer Down Here 1v1. Time to catch up with the Director of Youth Soccer Programs for El Paso Locomotive FC. And there is a method to the madness with the release and the news of Locomotive Youth Soccer Club. So we decided to catch up with Bob Bigney. Bob, thanks for hanging out with us for a 1v1, Coach.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, first question is, and this is stuff that came out in our pre-flight here, you actually have a tie to Darren Eales, which I thought we absolutely had to get into here before we started talking about El Paso Locomotive. What is it?
So, many years ago, I don't know if Darren would remember me, but when Darren finished playing university soccer, played college soccer, he spent some time playing professionally back in the leagues there with the Hampton Roads Mariners, an early version of a USL league. And Darren, he was quite a good player in his time, but I was helping to coach the Hampton Roads Mariners. And then Darren left, went back over to England. I think he did quite well for himself in England, and now is leading the charge with Atlanta United. So if I can remember those days correctly, Darren and I and the rest of the squad with the Hampton Roads Mariners had some good times.
Good stuff. I had to get that out there because when you mentioned it, for me, that was an absolute no-brainer to ask about what's going on. So now let's talk about what's going on there in El Paso, Las Cruces, and the Texas, New Mexico, Juarez area. For those not familiar with that particular area and what soccer means to the community, break that down for everyone about what it means there in that particular part of the country.
Well, and those that are familiar with El Paso and know its geographical location, it's an interesting part of the country. El Paso is in Texas, but it's probably an 8 or 9 hour drive from El Paso to San Antonio or Austin, another hour or two to Houston. So we are on that very far western corner of the state of Texas. So it's an interesting place. Obviously, El Paso is on the border with Mexico and Juarez, which provides some really good opportunities and some really exciting opportunities for soccer. FC Juarez has moved into the top division in Mexico soccer, and having the team there in Juarez and now the professional team, El Paso Locomotive, in El Paso is really just helping the local community. I would have to say, I'd have to describe the El Paso youth soccer landscape as one with a tremendous amount of passion, very many talented players. And there's been many players from El Paso that have gone off to other areas and done quite well for themselves. But the overall structure, the overall organization of youth soccer in El Paso and this area has some challenges. I'll say that. It could use some improvement. And that's something that Locomotive are hoping to provide for this area.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you look at what Locomotive have done just in a USL championship sense, there really has been an embracing of that first season and getting out there and having the competition in USL championship. What was it like for your perspective to see Locomotive come online and have the impact that it's had?
Fantastic, and it's been received by the community really well. Many years ago, there was the El Paso Patriots, who were a lower level professional team, and they were very popular in this area. Now they've been gone for many years, so to see Locomotive come back in and provide the professional soccer to this area, the community has really just embraced it. One of the things, we have got a tremendous ownership group, and a couple of families that are the owners of the Mountain Star Sports Group. And the Mountain Star Sports Group, they owned El Paso Chihuahuas, the AAA affiliate of San Diego Padres, and now they own Locomotive as well. They're involved part owners with FC Juarez, so it's a really strong ownership group, and their top priority, as they state every day, is to make El Paso and the Borderplex region a wonderful place to live. So these owners are just pumping millions into the community and providing a lot of different developments that are going on, a lot of different benefits to the community, and they are really committed to bringing the pro soccer team here and now making Locomotive, making the organization just first class. And so that's something that everything they do it right. So with our youth soccer club, with the announcement that we're taking the next step forward, we're going to do things the right way, and it's going to provide some great opportunities to kids in this area.
How far back were the conversations to sit there and say, okay, hey, we want to do this, before it came online with the announcement? How far back did those conversations and ideas go before we had the genesis of the notion and the release of the idea?
So I've been with the club for about 2 years. I was actually living in Las Cruces, New Mexico, which is just 30 minutes, 45 minutes down the road. I was working as the technical director for New Mexico Youth Soccer, and started talking to the club, and one thing led to another, and it led to a job, and they brought me on. So that was about 2 years ago. And since that time, we've been running some different programs. We've done some summer camps. We've done a Little Locos program for the 4- and 5-year-olds, just an introduction to soccer. And we've done some supplemental training for kids in different age groups. So we've been running those programs for the past year and a half, 2 years. And we decided that now's the right time. We've got things in order. We've identified players, that it's time to take this next step and put actual teams, full-time teams, under the Locomotive umbrella and really complete that pathway from the young players all the way up to the pro team, all within the Locomotive Club.
I was going to ask, you mentioned the Little Locos. How do you envision that pathway going from, say, even Little Locos of 4 and 5 to where those who are interested can eventually become pros and be a part of the Locomotive itself?
Right. So one of the things that we want to do, even though we've launched our academy, we've launched our youth club, we want to try and make the El Paso youth soccer landscape a better one for everybody. So we're going to continue to do outreach. We're going to continue to do to provide services, to provide support for the leagues that are in town, the clubs, the teams, to anybody that wants it. We do coaching education programs in the community. So the Little Locos, it's a wonderful program. But it's just really kind of an introduction to soccer for the youngest one. It's not formal teams. They don't play in the league, because for the 4, 5, and the 6-year-olds to just do some pool training and have some fun with the game is much more appropriate. So in our club, we will start our youth teams probably about at under 10. And then we'll go under 10 all the way up to under 18, and that'll provide that pathway. All of the Locomotive youth teams will have a strong connection to the professional team, and will be closely linked and looking to develop players that could be pulled in for a training session with the pro team, and eventually to have some players that have come up through the Locomotive Youth Soccer Club to sign contracts and play for the professional team right here in El Paso.
Why is it important, and this probably goes back to being a part of the fabric of the community and there in that area in West Texas and New Mexico and in Mexico itself, why do you think, and how do you view that this is as important as it is to have everything going back to little locos and opportunities for boys and girls and the non-elite rec levels? Why is this important? And how does this, do you think, add to the fabric of what's being built already?
So one of the advantages, if you will, of having the Locomotive Youth Soccer Club is really just some of the resources that our parent company, Mountain Star Sports, can bring to it. Some of the organization, some of the structure, some of the administration that they can provide to a youth soccer club that, quite frankly, no other soccer club is doing it that way. And the Locomotive Youth Soccer Club will be operated as a true club. There'll be movement of players between teams. There'll be a coaching staff that work together to develop the players. So just having that structure in place here can show that to other groups. It's one of those that, hey, if all ships rise, it's going to be a good thing for everybody. And so we're hoping to set the standard, set the example that others can follow, but provide that organization and that type of club in this area to prove that it can really benefit player development and can provide some good opportunities for the kids here in this area.
What about for girls and young ladies? Is there going to be elite level girls teams? What's the plan on the girls and young ladies side?
Yes, we are committed to having girls teams. Quite frankly, in El Paso right now, in this area, there's far fewer female players than there are male players. There are fewer teams for girls. Some of that I do put back to the environment that's here, but we are committed to having girls teams, and so in some shape or form, we're still sorting out all of the details. We are looking to put together the girls side of the club and then provide those opportunities for the girls. Obviously, the opportunity to go on and play for the Locomotive team won't be there, but to develop players for them to play for their high school team, for them to go on and be seen by college coaches, to develop players that could play in the Mexican League, the Women's Professional League, or in the NWSL. We do want to develop that girls' side of the club. It's just going to, I think, take a little more time, a little more effort to really build up that side of the club to where we want it to be.
Bob Bigney, Locomotive FC Director of Youth Soccer, giving us the update with the announcement earlier this week that El Paso Locomotive FC are unveiling the Youth Soccer Club ahead of the 2020-2021 Youth Soccer season. Coach, thanks for pulling back the curtain, introducing us to what's going on there in El Paso. Obviously, the Pathway to Provision is a part of what's going on with the Youth Soccer Club there in El Paso. Thanks for being a part of SDH and being a part of a 1v1 with us to let everybody know what's going on and kind of give a little more in-depth as to what's going on there in El Paso. And thanks for the introduction and everything. Thanks for being a part of the show.
Thank you. It's exciting times for El Paso.